Hey there guys, this is Obsidian Chill. Got another video for you today, and we're going to be addressing the Power Set Pet DPS balance. This was another thing that's coming into you 103. So essentially, they did damage buffs to Robot Sidekick, damage buff alterations to Fury and Crystal, damage buffs to Suppressor Turret, which is gadgets, buffs to Offering and Fortified Golem, so we're looking at Sorcery and Earth, damage nerfs to Guardian, threat generation buffs, that just means Guardian's taunt. Brick doesn't change, and then they made some changes to Watcher. So we'll touch on the goals there in a bit. Robot Sidekick, essentially, the rockets now deal damage in AoE. The range damage went up by about 50%. Melee stayed about the same. Suppressor Turret went up by base damage by 30%. No longer self-destructs out of combat. So that was a big thing. Suppressor Turret, if you just let it sat there, it would destroy after a few seconds. That was really annoying in SGE. Crystal reduced the base damage by 8%, increased damage when buffed, which is buffed on the PI, or the Fortified Golem buff, so 15% damage for 6 seconds. Cleaned up the AI. I'll touch on that in a moment. Fury, same thing, base damage increase, offering buffs Furies by damage 15% for 6 seconds. Guardian reduced the damage, because the Guardian was better overall than Fury, except if you used offering. And then the Watcher Sorcerer one. So I'll touch on Watcher later in the video. And as per usual, if you check the pinned comment, it's going to have sections to be able to skip to the timestamps. So let's kind of touch on what actually changed. So we've got through all the testing here. So we'll kind of go through first what Batuba changed, see if it actually matches up with his changes, and then we'll touch on what it looks like on live server to see more direct comparison. So in his first one, he said if you don't actively try to apply power interactions or buffs with Petra Abilities, the best pets should be Robot Sidekick, Suppressor Turret, the Sorcery like Fury and Crystal, and then Guardian Brick. So what that means is that you're not trying to apply PIs or pets. So basically this is just out just to help. Like you're not using Offering or Fortified Golem, you're not using power interactions, it's just base damage. So we got Robot Sidekick Melee, 250k damage. This is all 60-second parsers at 293. Robot Sidekick Range is 238, so as you can see, that's not that much of a gap between melee and range now. The Suppressor Turret base damage was 208. Guardian was 152. So the only thing that doesn't line up with what he said is Guardian. Guardian is supposed to be weaker than Fury and Crystal. That is still tied into his combo attacks. Like he's brawling AoE. So it doesn't matter if you reduce the damage on the brawling taps, you're still doing twice as many taps in terms of, like Crystal's doing 26 hits and Guardian's doing like in the 170s. So it's just that it doesn't matter what Crystal's doing or how often, you just don't have that kind of damage with those extra type of hits. So I'm still seeing Guardian better than not that you'd ever run it, because you'd obviously at that point, if you're not running any power interactions or Offering or Fortified Golem, you might as well just run on Sidekick because it's twice as much damage. But that's essentially, so I'm still seeing Guardians better. Yes, this is a small sample size. There's only 3 parsers at 60 seconds, but at the same time, even if I did 100 parsers, I'm not going to jump 50k in damage. So that's essentially, besides Guardian, everything you said runs true there. So the next one, if you just apply the power interactions, so that means the Crush PI, the Bad Karma PI, and Suppressor Turret works off electric, daze, and both of them. So if you apply just the PIs, Suppressor Turret should be first, followed by Sidekick, followed by Fury and Crystal, and Guardian Brick. So Suppressor Turret is up there. So if you have both electric and daze PI, that's 335k damage. And with the daze PI, 295, with the electric PI, 255. It's a pretty big gap there. I'm not entirely sure why. You've got the Frost Grenade, you've got the Flamethrower, so it could be that just with the Daze PI, Suppressor Turret procs Flamethrower more often. And then you got obviously melee and range. You got Guardian, same thing. Guardian is supposed to be weaker, but same thing with Bad Karma PI. I'm at 159, not a giant increase, 158 versus 159. But it's just because the attack patterns are still only getting 26 hits. Still only getting in like the between 50s and 80s with Fury, depending on what her AI is doing. And then Guardian's always in the 170s. So that still reigns true. So if you wanted to nerf Guardian, you're going to have to give like Fury more solar beam, not solar beams, solar flames. or Scissor Kick, something to be AoE damage. Right now it's just doing, like Crystal's useless, is just doing like the Shuriken, one Shuriken Storm, or it's doing like one Martial Tab, one Martial Flurry. So once again, pretty much rings true. Suppressor Turret rings true there. So now if we're using Petra Abilities, what that means is Offering and Fortified Golem. So if you're using Offering and every 6 seconds, you're looking at, it should be source like Fury and Crystal being first, then Sidekick, then Turret, and then Guardian and Brick. I didn't test Brick because no one's going to use Brick for DPS, and Brick didn't change, so it's the same thing. So Fury, like I said before, almost 500k damage. Crystal with Fortified Golem, 455, which is obviously a big giant gap between Robot Sidekick melee and range, and then Guardian with Offering just sneaks in between there. So yeah, obviously, if you're going to use Offering, then you're getting massive increases in damage without it. So you're getting barely 100k, and now you're getting almost 500k. And then if you're using Petra Abilities, so Offering and Fortified Golem and Power Interactions, which is really easy to set up. If you're running Grimoire, and if you're going to be running this Godwave artifact, you're going to be running the Grimoire anyway, because the easiest way to set up the Crush, well, Earth doesn't necessarily need the Grimoire. It does for range, because you can use Unstoppable and Melee to set up Crush. So it doesn't. Regardless, you're always going to have the PI set up for Crystal. No matter what, you're always going to have Crush PI. Because if you're in melee range, you're going to have Unstoppable. If you're range, you're going to have something, Upheaval or the AoE move or Grimoire. Same thing with Sorcery. It's really easy to set up Bad Karma PI, or you're running the Grim anyway. So either way, you should always expect to have the PI active. It's just whether or not you want to hit Offering every 6 seconds, it was worth it. So now it should be the Fury and Crystal being top, then Turret, then Sidekick, and then Guardian being last. So obviously we have Guardian being last, then we have the Robot Sidekicks, we have Turret, and then Fury at 548,000 damage, and Crystal at 496. So what does that all mean compared to what we're used to seeing on live? So if we go back here, so this is a comparison that I did during my sort guide, so this is very recent, CR 295. So this is actually higher CR than what these are tested at, because these are tested at 293, because that's what we have on test. So if we do Fury, the base damage was 103. Now Fury's base damage is 108, so not a big change at all. We have Fury with Offering every 6 seconds was 415. And now Fury with Offering, 493. So 493 versus 415. And also take into account that this is going to be even higher because it's 2 CR lower. We got Fury with Bad Karma and Offering. So basically with the PI and Offering every 6 seconds was 459. And now if we look here, 459 versus 548. So as you can see, legit increase there. 459 damage versus 548. And that's probably going to be 560-ish. I don't think it'd be 570 with only 2 CR. But once again, that's going to be a CR increase. And then we're looking at Guardian. Obviously, this is where we're going to see the nerf. Guardian was at 267. Now Guardian is at 158. So about halved. And then Guardian with Offering every 6 seconds was 383. And now below, it is 158. Oh, no, sorry. It was going to be 159. So as you can see, massive nerfs to Guardian, which, makes sense too, because Guardian is supposed to be the tank pet. It's not supposed to be the damage pet. It was just that Guardian did brawling AoE and was a bit more tankier in range, where Fury's AI just didn't attack well enough or attack quick enough or often enough. So that's essentially where we're sitting at now. So by comparison, Fury with Offering and Bad Karma, that's similar to what you'd see. It's less damage, but it's similar damage to like 4-Boos. The 4-Boo utility belt, if you've seen my other videos, is about 640, 650k damage. So it's about 100k less than a 4-Boo. And then obviously the 4-Boos you're summoning every 120 seconds, where Fury you're always going to have out. So it's one of those things where this is not even including that new pet artifact. So this is not even taking into account that extra damage that you could be getting. So, every 60 seconds you're getting 500,000 damage, not including that new pet artifact, which would buff not only the Grim for your PI setup, but also be buffing Fury as well. So that's another thing that I'll be taking a look at in my future video once I get the pets on test server. So I'll be able to compare properly that damage with the God Wave, and then using these numbers as well. So that's essentially the pet update. So big changes, not so much big changes to gadgets. It's going to be one of those things where at this point it's not going to be worth the damage just to use suppressor turret to clip with. You're not going to be saving that much damage, especially when turret's going to stay out the entire time and not self-destruct. If you're having both PIs up, that's free, 300k damage every 60 seconds as gadgets. You're not going to be getting that much extra damage with the turret clip. In that case, you're not going to be saving 300k damage. Other than that, Robot Sidekick doesn't really change. Yes, it is increased damage and the range gets increased, which is nice, but if anything, that might be a little bit too powerful because there's so many power sets that use Robot Sidekick as an extra ability damage. So the fact that gets increased is bonus, but could lead to some balance issues, especially depending on how it works with that Godwave artifact. And in terms of Fury and Crystal and Guardian, nothing really changed. At this point, if there's not too many Earths and Sorks that use that as supplementary power, or basically you'd be better off running Robot Sidekick anyway, because it's twice the damage if you're not going to run Offering. So that stayed the same too. So if you want better passive damage, it's going to be Robot Sidekick because it does twice the damage. If you're going to run Offering, which has been a damage loss so far in any rotation for single target or range, I think for range, there was an Earth rotation I used it with. I don't know if that's changed. In my previous guide for Earth, I did use Fortified Golem for one loadout. I basically do like Upheaval times 2 and then Fortified Golem. So that's an option as well. But that's essentially what you're looking at in terms of damage. So let's jump ahead and show you the changes to Watcher. Okay, so now to discuss the changes to Watcher. So Watcher had its base heal increased. It had the reduced power cost of a heal by half. And then Offering now grants Watcher 10% of your restoration for 8 seconds. And just so you know, I'm at a base restoration of 37,000. Augments, low level Origin restoration augments too. So that's nowhere near max considered in test server build. So let's kind of get this started here. Let's drain some health. Okay, so now we're going to summon Watcher. And the way the Watcher's AA works is you get 2 heals about every second apart, and then there's a pause, and then another 2 heals as well, and then Watcher's out of power. So you get 4 heals per Watcher, power bar basically. But if you watch my previous Sorcery Watcher video, the base heal is around 6k. Now it's gone up by 1,000 to about 1,500, so it's between 7 and 8k basically. So that's essentially where we're at. So now if we drain it back down again and use Offering, same thing. So now we get the increase of that restoration. So it's a 9k, 10k, 95, 10k, and then it's going to go back to the lower again. So essentially, if you're consistently using Offering each time off cooldown, you're getting closer to a 10k heal with your restoration. Especially on a live server, it's going to be 10k. But the same drawback as before. Watcher's heals will not crit whatsoever. That's a base heal. So it's essentially what you're looking at. It's basically you get 2 heals a second apart, another 2 or 3 second pause, and then another 2 heals, all for 9k, as long as you're consistently using Offering each time off cooldown. So now let's kind of break that down versus using another ability. It's the same thing. I'll drain my health again. So now just using the group heal. 13 there, 31k there, 10k. Now I understand that this isn't going to, the Watcher is going to be group heal, so it's going to go to everyone. Where obviously the Ritualistic Word is going to go to myself and 3 others. But at the same time, there's not too many instances where the entire group is taking damage over time. There are some instances, but that's very rare. You're going to have the entire group taking damage. Like you're going to have like instances like SSG. You have instances like the PCD first boss. But it's not common in content to have that much damage over time. Like Hive Elite would be another example. So it's when you can cover that many heals. The same thing. So if I go drain my health again, we got Shard. That was the Page of Destiny proc. So now using Shard, 9k, and then we're getting about 2k crits every half second on Shard. And then the base heals are just under 1,000. It's the same thing. You can use Shard again. Shard can crit up to about 20 or 30k. See if we can get one of those. Might not be able to, depending if it wants to cooperate. 23k crit there on Shard. So this is just other powers. You're saving 2 loadout slots, not having to use Watcher and Offering as well. And the other thing as well is if I did my power back down here again, I still have my orb artifact. So if I summon my Acolyte, not only 71k base heal, I don't have to go back in here. But as you can see, I'm getting 12k. Yes, once again, that's not to the group. I'm getting 12k, and then the tank is also getting that 12k. So that's where you need it. The person who's taking the lowest priority heal. So it's not necessarily always the tank, but that person that needs the health the most, you got the Acolyte healing them for 12k instead of Watcher healing them for like 9 or 10k. But Watcher, you don't know when that's going to happen. It's going to be 1 second apart, then a pause, then another second, where the Acolyte's becoming consistent each time. So you're consistently getting that every second. You're getting that heal, where that's not the case with Watcher. It's spread out. And the same thing if I lower my health a bit now again. Let's see. Wait for the Acolyte to disappear. Get my health down low. So now I can use that heal there. I'm instantly full up. We've got a group heal out. We got Shard of Life healing in anything close to my target, and we've got the Acolyte healing whichever player needs of priority heal. So at the same time, if I'm using those 3 powers, then I'm kind of stuck. I need to run Arbiter Destiny. I need to run a supercharge. So then what am I dropping? You're dropping your shield? No. Are you going to drop Shard of Life for that type of heal? I mean, that's your one utility power, so technically you could drop. You're not going to drop your Rejuvenate. You're not going to drop your Priority. You're not going to drop your Group Heal because of the synergy with Page of Destiny. So then what else are you dropping? You're dropping your Supercharge, and you're dropping another ability. So you're sacrificing either running a Supercharge, which is Sorcery is one of the most powerful ones, or you're dropping like Circle Protection or Soulwell, like all those other abilities that you could be running. Instead, you have to sacrifice 2 loadout slots with Watcher. And the other thing as well is we have to remember that Watcher doesn't synergize with any other artifacts for healing. So we've got Rejuvenate, obviously with the Orb of Orion, so we've got the Priority Heal. We've got Page of Destiny with the Ritualistic Word having synergy with it. We've got the Transformation card for crits. We've got the Strategist card for extra heal over times. So it's just that there's no point to run it because you heal just as well, if not exceedingly better, with the normal setup. Have either, you could also have either Gemini for supercharge regen and giving the 5% buff to other support roles when you're running Arbiter. So it's just that Watcher just doesn't fit. It's still not strong enough. And even if it was strong enough, you're sacrificing all of your artifact synergy to be able to use to run 2 loadout slots for Summon Watcher and Offering. And that's not to mention all the times that Offering is going to die. So like I said before, when you have a content like PCE First Boss, that Lady Blackhawk is killing all pets. So if you're running Crystal or even Booze, like any pets you have, like Power Set pets, Watcher is going to die, and then you have to waste time to resummon it. So all that time where the group heals actually need those heals from those damage over times from Lady Blackhawk's pulses, it's going to die anyway. So it's just that there's nothing you can do. You're going to have to keep summoning it. Then you're wasting time. You're not healing because you're wasting time to summon it. Watcher's not healing, so you don't have extra heals out. So it's just still not practical yet. Not that I think we were really expecting it to be practical. I think Batuba just wanted to make a change because before it was terrible. But, I mean, for Watcher to be actually beneficial, it would have to become an either-or. So either we run Arbiter and our current healed meta with Sorcery, or we run Watcher, which is what it was like before. So Watcher was super strong. It was the either-or. So you could run Watcher and be perfectly fine, or you could run like a typical heal meta and be fine. So right now you can't do that. So Watcher would have to be a lot higher buffed. You'd have to have base heal, you'd have to have crits on it, you'd have to have better protection from it. It's just so many other things you'd have to do to bring it back to what it was like before. So right now it's still kind of gimmicky. Like if you want Watcher, it's a little bit better, but it's still not better than what the actual current meta would be for sorcery.